But you've criticized the US in the past for trying to dictate terms and violate international norms. Previous administrations not so brazenly, the current one dropping all pretense. Would you say that the Trump tariffs are an extension of the same mindset, that you can get away with whatever you want?
I think everyone observing the last few days should be rather puzzled what's actually going on in Washington. If you ask me, I will tell you the succinct answer: nobody knows. And I'll give you the real answer that is the most alarming answer of all. For the first time in American history, we are in a one-man show right now. We're in a one-person show. The authors of our Constitution spent a lot of time, and they were very brilliant, trying to devise checks and balances to this new system that they were inventing in 1787. They would be horrified by what's happening now. What is literally happening now, you should understand. How does one person change the whole world trade system? It wasn't a vote of Congress. It wasn't even a discussion in Congress. It wasn't a public debate. It was literally an executive order. And that is very strange. In the executive order, and you can go to the website of the White House to read the executive order, it says, by the powers invested in me as President of the United States. And then it lists 3 pieces of legislation with the words emergency in them. The President of the United States declared an emergency. Now, this is interesting. He claims that he can declare an emergency and then govern without law, just govern by decree. This is what we had a revolution about back in 1776, by the way. They didn't like the fact that King George III made decrees, but even then it was the British Commons actually passing laws. Here it's not even the Commons, it's one person. Now, what he calls an emergency is anything that Donald Trump wants to call an emergency. So he calls our trade deficit an emergency. Well, no, it's been around for 20-some years. It's got deep economic causes. It's not exactly an emergency. Maybe it's a matter of public interest, maybe not, but it's not something that one person should decide and then overwrite the laws of the land in an emergency decree. So we are profoundly destabilized in the United States right now because we have one-person rule. What we don't know is whether there will be any reaction to this, whether the courts will be able to enforce a judgment that these actions are illegal, which they plainly are, by the way. They will create worldwide turmoil, but they're absolutely illegal by any true legal standard other than a presidential emergency, or whether Congress will wake up and say, hey, we have a role under Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, which says very explicitly that the right to levy duties belongs only to Congress, not to the President, which is in Article 2 of our Constitution. If we had the Indian Supreme Court, I wouldn't worry, frankly. The Indian Supreme Court's pretty activist who would strike this down as enormous presidential overreach. I don't know about our Supreme Court. The Chief Justice was my classmate 49 years ago, by the way. I didn't quite trust him then, and I don't trust him now. I don't know what he's going to do. But we're hanging by a thread. Do we have one-person rule, or do we have really a checks and balances democracy? We don't know to this moment.